comparing portfolios. To compare portfolios alongside each other, click on Research on the left and then Portfolios. This will open up the portfolio search area and it will automatically bring through a list of all the model and investment portfolios that you've previously created on the system. It's also in this area that you can generate any portfolio comparisons. There are two buttons in our taskbar, Portfolio versus Portfolio and Comparison. These buttons are greyed out at the minute because we haven't selected the portfolios that we would like to use in our comparison. So I will go through a few examples of how you might use these areas. The first use is if you would like to, for example, compare a model portfolio alongside another model portfolio. To do this, find the first portfolio you would like to use in your comparison and click on it to highlight it. To select a second portfolio to use in your comparison, hold your Control key down. It's normally found in the bottom left-hand corner of your keyboard. Hold it down and then click on the other portfolios you would like to use. The two buttons in our taskbar have now lit up and become available, and if you take your mouse and hover over each button, it does tell you exactly what you can do in each area. So we'll start with comparison. Click here to compare selected portfolios, include funds, benchmarks, sector averages and timeframes. The portfolio comparison area will take however many portfolios you've selected and it compares them in three key charts. So you have a cumulative returns chart, a risk reward chart and a discrete returns chart. Now in the bottom left hand corner you can then use these drop down boxes to add additional information in. You can remove any portfolios you would like from the comparison by unticking the boxes. You could add the funds in from the portfolios by ticking in the boxes, and you can also then add the sector averages for each of those funds. You can then add any number of benchmarks that you would like into the portfolio comparison by again ticking the boxes, and when you tick the box, the system will automatically refresh itself and bring through that benchmark. Then last of all, in the bottom left hand corner you have time period. Now time period will automatically default to best fit. Best fit is as far back as the youngest portfolio goes, up to a maximum of 5 years. So if you have a 3-year-old portfolio, it will start from that 3-year point. However, you can change your time period to 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or you can customize it and select your start month and year and your end month and year. Now once you've made all your changes and additions in here, you can then click on Reports and produce a portfolio comparison report. And that is a nice plain client-friendly report with these three charts on it. So that's portfolio comparison. You can compare multiple portfolios in three key areas. We'll now look at the portfolio versus portfolio area, and again if you take your mouse and hover over that button, it does tell you exactly what you can do in here. Click to produce an in-depth comparison of the 2 or 3 portfolios selected. So this is a more in-depth comparison and it will only be available when you have 2 or 3 portfolios selected. So as I have 2 portfolios selected, this button is now available. And when you click on it, it opens up in a new tab heading. It takes the portfolios that you've selected and it compares them in the 5 key areas listed on the left hand side. So we have our assets here alongside each other. We then have a direct comparison of the allocations of those assets. You have the holdings, performance, and then finally you've got risk reward, and risk reward will also include the funds from each of the portfolios to give you that extra level of detail within your analysis. And if you want to use this information in a report, click on Reports and you'll be able to access a portfolio versus portfolio report. Okay, I'll close that down. So far then, we've looked at comparing a model portfolio alongside a model portfolio. What about if you want to use a client portfolio in your comparisons? Well, if that's the case, you need to ensure that your type filter on the left-hand side has client selected. We don't automatically bring your client portfolios in here because you might have a very extensive list of clients with a very long list of portfolios. So that could make this area look very busy and with a very long list of portfolios. But if you do want to bring them through, click on Client. You can then search for a particular client portfolio, or if you click on Search, it will bring all of your client portfolios through. So I now have all of my client, all of my model, and all of my investment portfolios here. I can then use my client portfolios in the same way as how I use my model portfolios. Click on it, hold my Control key down, click on another portfolio, and I can then use those portfolios in my comparison. And that's it for comparing portfolios. Thanks for listening.